Aaron had always loved exploring. Ever since he was a child on the small human colony of Lysara, he had dreamed of visiting distant worlds, seeing the stars from places no human had ever set foot on, and learning about the civilizations that lived among them. So when the opportunity arose to join the Galactic Exploration Corps as a junior surveyor, he had taken it without a second thought. The spaceport of Vierla 9 was unlike any place he had ever seen. The sprawling platform stretched for miles, lined with towers of shimmering metal and lights that glowed like tiny stars. Ships of every imaginable design glided silently above the crowds of beings, some taller than houses, some smaller than a loaf of bread, all moving with precise and elegant coordination. The air hummed with activity, languages of hundreds of species blending into a strange, beautiful symphony. Aaron wandered through the market area, notebook in hand, sketching the ships, the creatures, the stalls. He had no idea what most of the items were: floating devices that changed shape, shimmering fabrics that seemed alive, containers of liquids that shifted colors like miniature galaxies. But he enjoyed observing. The market was chaotic yet rhythmic, and every corner promised something new to discover. It was then, in the middle of a plaza, that he saw her. She stood alone for a moment, just past a fountain of levitating crystal spheres, her long robe flowing around her in a way that seemed almost unnatural, as if it obeyed her will more than gravity. Her presence was commanding, not in a harsh way, but in a quiet, undeniable authority. She moved slowly, deliberately, her eyes scanning the crowd with curiosity. Aaron froze. Something about her was different from anyone he had ever seen. Perhaps it was the way she held herself, or the faint glow in her eyes that hinted at intelligence beyond measure. Without thinking, he whispered to himself, "She's the most magnificent princess I've seen." The words barely left his mouth when she turned toward him. Her gaze met his, and for a heartbeat, Aaron felt as though the noise of the entire plaza had vanished. She smiled faintly, a gentle curve of her lips that suggested amusement rather than disdain. "You think I am a princess?" she asked, her voice musical and precise, yet entirely understandable. Aaron realized she spoke galactic basic fluently, the common language of interstellar communication. I didn't mean to, Aaron stammered, unsure how to explain that he had spoken aloud without realizing it. She stepped closer, tilting her head with curiosity. "Most humans are quiet or perhaps too cautious. You speak freely. That is unusual." Aaron's face flushed. He had expected fear or indifference, not this calm, almost approving interest. "I'm Aaron," he said finally, forcing his voice to steady. "I'm a surveyor from Lysara." "Aaron," she repeated, testing the sound of it. "And what do humans do that you think we cannot?" The question caught him off guard. He paused, trying to think quickly. Humans were clever, inventive, resourceful, but how could he explain it in a few words? "We adapt," he said finally. "We find solutions when nothing else works. We make do with what we have. We see possibilities others might miss." The princess studied him, her expression unreadable. Then she nodded slowly. "Interesting. Perhaps your kind is not as simple as some of my advisors suggest." She gestured lightly toward a side gate of the plaza. "Would you walk with me? I am curious about this human perspective you carry." Aaron hesitated. Walk with a princess. That was not something he had ever imagined, yet something in her manner, the genuine curiosity, the absence of any condescension, made him nod. "Of course," he said. As they moved together through the streets, Aaron noticed how different she was from the other aliens. While most beings seemed focused on efficiency or spectacle, she observed small details. The way the light reflected on a merchant's wares, the faint trail of energy that a device left in the air, even the expressions on passerby faces. She asked questions, not about power or status, but about how things worked, how beings felt, and why patterns existed as they did. Aaron found himself explaining things he had never thought to articulate. How Lysara's cities recycled water in layers, how their ships relied on human intuition for navigation in turbulent star systems, how even simple human inventions were often a combination of necessity and creativity. She listened intently, occasionally nodding, occasionally frowning in thought. They arrived at a quieter area of the spaceport where the towers were taller and the air less crowded. "I lead a group that studies innovation," she said, almost casually. "We look for ideas that might benefit my empire, but lately progress has slowed. My people rely on rules too much, predictability, order. I wonder if humans can offer something different." Aaron's heart raced. He had never imagined a human might have a chance to influence an alien civilization. I, I think we can," he said, his confidence growing as he spoke. "Humans find ways around impossible problems. Sometimes the solution isn't obvious, but we notice patterns, connections others miss. That might be useful, maybe even to your empire." She regarded him with a mixture of surprise and respect. "Your words are bold," she said softly. "Most would not dare claim such things to someone like me, and yet you speak without fear, without pretense. Perhaps you are right." They continued walking, and Aaron began to notice something else. She was approachable, even playful at times. She asked him to demonstrate simple human problem-solving, like arranging small floating cubes into patterns, predicting their movement, and adjusting for irregularities. Each time, Aaron improvised solutions, and she watched with growing interest. "You have an unusual mind," she said, "not bound by what is expected. You see what others overlook. That is rare, even among the most advanced species in the galaxy." Aaron smiled, encouraged. "I think humans survive because we have to. We don't have all the technology, the resources, but we have curiosity, creativity. We make it work." She laughed lightly, a sound that seemed to brighten the air around them. "Perhaps that is why I sought you out, Aaron. I wanted to see a mind unclouded by rigid structures. To see if what humans offer is truly different." As the sun, or whatever alien equivalent warmed the spaceport, began to set, casting long, shimmering shadows, Aaron realized that this encounter was more than chance. Somehow, he felt that this meeting could change everything, not just for him, but for humans in the galaxy. The princess was not only curious but open to learning, and that openness could create opportunities that no human had ever dreamed of before. "Will you show me more?" she asked suddenly, breaking his thoughts. "There is a symposium tomorrow. Rare minds gather there. Some humans have been invited before, but few are willing to leave the comfort of their worlds. Will you come?" Aaron hesitated, thinking of the risks, the unknown, the possibility of failure. But then he looked at her, at the genuine interest in her eyes, and the way she carried herself with calm confidence. "Yes," he said, without a second thought. "I will come." She smiled again, and for a moment the noise of the spaceport, the swirl of aliens, and the hum of machinery all seemed to fade. In that moment, Aaron understood that this meeting was not just a curiosity. It was the beginning of a journey. One that could prove to the galaxy that humans were clever, resourceful, and perhaps more important than anyone had realized. As they parted ways for the evening, Aaron felt a mix of excitement and nerves. He returned to his small lodgings, but sleep was elusive. Thoughts of the princess, the symposium, and the possibilities that lay ahead filled his mind. He realized that humans had always relied on ingenuity to survive, and now, perhaps, that ingenuity would be tested on a galactic stage. Tomorrow would be the first step into a world far larger and more complex than Lysara, a world where one human mind might make a difference among countless alien civilizations. Aaron knew that challenges awaited, but for the first time in his life, he felt ready. And somewhere, he felt certain, the princess's curiosity would guide him toward opportunities he had never imagined. And with that thought, he drifted into a restless sleep, dreaming of stars, strange worlds, and the extraordinary journey that awaited him. The next morning, Aaron woke early. Sunlight, or rather, the soft glow of violet artificial sun, filtered through the wide windows of his small room. His mind was still buzzing from the events of yesterday. The princess's invitation to the symposium seemed impossible, yet here he was, preparing to step into a world few humans had ever seen. He checked his notes and sketches, making sure he understood everything he had observed in the spaceport. The symposium was a gathering of minds from across the galaxy, inventors, strategists, philosophers, and scientists, each bringing their knowledge and ideas to share. Aaron felt a thrill of nervous excitement. This was not just exploration. It was a chance to prove that human thinking, their unique creativity and adaptability, had value on a scale far beyond what he had ever imagined. He arrived at the symposium's location, a massive dome that seemed to float above the city. Its walls shimmered with energy, shifting colors like liquid crystal. Alien species of all shapes and sizes moved inside, speaking in countless languages, their voices blending into a hum of ideas and questions. Aaron felt small among them, yet he also felt a spark of determination. Humans may have been few in number, but they had something rare: ingenuity. The princess was waiting near the entrance. Her robe had changed to a lighter, flowing material, glowing faintly with soft energy lines. She smiled when she saw Aaron approaching. "You came early," she said. "I am pleased. Most humans would hesitate at the sight of so many beings." Aaron nodded. "I want to make the most of this chance." "Good," she said, motioning for him to follow. "Observe first, then speak. Do not be afraid to question, but choose your words carefully." They walked among the participants, and Aaron began to notice patterns he had never seen before. Each species had its own way of thinking, its own approach to problems. Some relied entirely on logic, calculating every possibility with machines far faster than human minds could manage. Others approached ideas emotionally, using intuition and instinct rather than facts. Aaron realized that humans had a unique advantage. They could combine logic with creativity. They could improvise, take risks, and see possibilities that others often overlooked. He kept this in mind as they approached a circular stage where the first presentations were about to begin. The first presenter was an alien inventor with translucent skin that glowed with inner light. He demonstrated a device that could transform matter at a microscopic level, rearranging molecules to create new materials instantly. The audience reacted with awe, and Aaron watched carefully, noting the precision and elegance of the invention. Yet he also noticed the inventor's strict adherence to patterns. Every step was calculated, every outcome predicted. There was no room for improvisation, no room for error, but also no room for creativity beyond the system. When it was the princess's turn to speak, she did not present an invention. Instead, she posed a challenge to the participants, a complex puzzle involving resource distribution on a newly discovered planet. The goal was to establish a sustainable settlement using limited energy and materials, but the puzzle allowed for multiple solutions. Aaron's heart raced. This was the moment he had been waiting for. Many participants immediately began calculating formulas and probabilities, creating detailed models and simulations. Their solutions were precise, but rigid. Aaron thought of Lysara, of the way humans adapted when technology failed or supplies were scarce. He began to sketch ideas on a small digital pad, combining approaches in ways that others had not considered. He suggested using lightweight energy conduits to transfer power efficiently between areas, repurposing materials for multiple functions, and creating flexible structures that could shift based on need. The princess watched silently, her expression unreadable. When Aaron finished explaining his approach, she leaned forward slightly. "Interesting," she said. "You do not rely solely on calculations or instincts alone. You combine both. Other participants looked skeptical. A tall, armored alien whispered to a colleague, "Humans are improvisers. They lack discipline." The princess, however, ignored them. She turned to the entire gathering. "Observe. This human demonstrates a method of thinking that is adaptable. Perhaps we have overlooked the value of unpredictability." Aaron felt a mix of pride and nervousness. He was just a human from a small colony, but here, his perspective mattered. The princess's attention gave him confidence, and he continued to refine his approach, adding creative solutions to unforeseen problems. By the afternoon, the symposium had moved to interactive sessions, where participants could collaborate on real-time challenges. The princess assigned Aaron to a team with aliens who were struggling to agree on a method for energy distribution. Aaron listened to their arguments, understanding both the logic-driven and intuition-driven points. Then he suggested a compromise, a system that used their calculations for efficiency but allowed flexibility for unexpected changes. The result was astonishing. The team, initially divided, began working together seamlessly. Structures shifted to accommodate new inputs, energy flowed where it was needed, and resources were used efficiently without waste. The princess watched closely, her eyes lighting up with approval. "You see," she said quietly to Aaron, "humans are not just survivors. You are connectors. You find solutions that integrate differences. That is something even the most advanced species sometimes forget." As the day progressed, Aaron noticed other humans observing from the edges of the symposium. They seemed hesitant, unsure if they belonged. He realized that many had underestimated themselves, thinking their small minds could not compete with civilizations that had existed for millennia. Yet he now understood that humans had a rare gift, the ability to adapt, to improvise, to combine creativity and logic in ways others could not. In one session, participants were asked to design a transportation system for a floating city. Aliens immediately began modeling complex networks, predicting every possible outcome. Aaron suggested a system that could shift routes dynamically based on real-time needs, using lightweight drones to transport people and goods. At first, others were skeptical, but when the system was tested in simulation, it worked flawlessly, outperforming even the most calculated designs. The princess approached him, smiling. "You have done well, Aaron. Your ideas are practical yet flexible. You see possibilities where others see only limits." Aaron felt a warmth of pride. He had always known humans were clever, but to hear it from someone so highly regarded in the galaxy was incredible. "Thank you," he said. "I only try to solve problems the way we do back home. Sometimes it works, sometimes we fail, but we never stop trying." The princess nodded. "That is why I find humans fascinating. You persist, you adapt, you imagine. That is something even we, with all our knowledge, sometimes forget." As the symposium neared its end, the princess invited Aaron to accompany her to a private chamber where senior members of the Alien Council gathered. She wanted to discuss possibilities for collaboration between humans and her empire, but Aaron had no idea what to expect. Inside the chamber, the walls were lined with glowing panels displaying data from countless worlds. The council members were tall, imposing, and elegant, each representing different species and regions. They observed Aaron quietly, their expressions neutral. The princess introduced him as a human surveyor with a unique perspective. Several members asked him questions, testing his knowledge and his ability to think on the spot. Aaron answered honestly, explaining the human approach to problem-solving, using creativity, improvisation, and adaptability. Some council members seemed skeptical, others intrigued. The princess listened silently, occasionally nodding, her expression one of approval. Finally, she spoke. "Humans may be young, but they offer something precious, a way of thinking that can bridge gaps, solve complex problems, and inspire new possibilities. I propose we study their methods further and consider humans as partners, not merely observers." The chamber fell silent. Aaron felt his pulse quicken. He had never imagined that humans could be seen as equals, or more, in a council of galactic civilizations. Yet here, his words, combined with the princess's support, had opened a door. After the meeting, the princess and Aaron walked through the city as night fell. The lights of Viola 9 sparkled like stars, reflecting in the canals and towers. Aaron felt a mix of awe and humility. Humans were small, few in number, and often overlooked. Yet he realized that their ingenuity, curiosity, and persistence could make them indispensable in a galaxy that valued brilliance of all kinds. "You have done more than I expected," the princess said softly. "You have shown that humans can contribute, that your creativity and adaptability are valuable. But this is only the beginning. There are greater challenges ahead, and I hope you will continue to demonstrate the power of your kind." Aaron smiled. "I will do my best." Humans always try, even when the odds are against them. The princess laughed lightly. "Yes, that is why I am interested in your people. They remind us of what we sometimes forget, that imagination, persistence, and courage matter as much as knowledge and technology." As they parted for the night, Aaron felt a sense of purpose stronger than anything he had experienced. Humans may have been considered minor players among galactic civilizations, but here, he understood that they had something unique, something valuable. And with the princess's guidance and curiosity, there was no telling how far humanity could reach. For the first time, Aaron saw a future where humans were not merely observers. They were participants, innovators, and perhaps even leaders in a galaxy full of possibilities. And he knew that tomorrow and the days to come would test everything he had learned, pushing humans to show the full extent of their remarkable abilities. The next morning, Aaron woke before dawn. Even the artificial sun of Viola 9 had not fully brightened the city, and the streets were quiet, with only the soft hum of energy lines and occasional workers moving through the plazas. Today, the princess had promised, would be unlike any day at the symposium. He was to accompany her on a special mission, a journey to a newly discovered planet that had never been explored, a place full of unknown challenges. Aaron packed his tools carefully: digital pads, scanners, notebooks, and a few simple human devices he had built himself. He had no idea what he might encounter, but he knew that humans had always succeeded where others failed by using ingenuity, creativity, and adaptability. He was determined to do the same here. The princess met him at the edge of the floating dome where their ships were docked. She looked radiant, her flowing robe catching the soft light, and her eyes shone with anticipation. "Are you ready?" she asked. "As ready as I'll ever be," Aaron said, trying to hide the nervous excitement in his voice. They boarded a sleek exploration vessel, one of the fastest and most advanced in the fleet. It glided silently through the atmosphere, leaving the city behind as the stars stretched out before them. The journey to the planet was long, giving Aaron time to observe the princess in her element. She reviewed data, calculated trajectories, and made adjustments, but she also paused to explain concepts to him, encouraging him to contribute ideas. When they arrived at the planet, its surface glowed faintly under the light of a nearby star. Towering crystalline formations rose from the ground, and the atmosphere shimmered with an unusual energy. It was beautiful, alien, and potentially dangerous. The princess stepped out first, scanning the surroundings with a device that emitted a soft hum. "The surface is stable, but there are areas of high energy fluctuation. We must be careful where we place structures and equipment." Aaron nodded, pulling out his scanner. "If we distribute sensors in a pattern that adapts to energy fluctuations, we can map safe zones more efficiently. And we can use lightweight drones to carry equipment instead of walking through unstable areas." The princess smiled. "Exactly the kind of thinking I hoped you would use." They spent hours exploring, mapping the planet and placing sensors. Aaron suggested using simple human tools in creative ways. Levitation drones to move rocks, flexible bridges made of lightweight materials, and energy converters that adjusted automatically to the shifting fluctuations. Each time he offered an idea, the princess nodded, sometimes modifying it to suit alien technology, sometimes letting it stand as he proposed. As they moved deeper into the crystalline forests, they encountered a series of natural obstacles. Fields of shifting energy, floating shards of crystal, and narrow pathways over deep chasms. Many alien explorers would have relied on machines to create rigid solutions, but Aaron suggested improvisation. Instead of building fixed bridges, he said, we can create platforms that move with the energy. They'll shift as the planet shifts, keeping us safe while letting us explore more freely. The princess considered this carefully, then smiled. That is brilliant. It respects the planet rather than forcing it into a shape we think it should have. Working together, they implemented his idea, and the platforms adjusted perfectly, allowing them to explore areas that no other team could have reached. As they climbed higher, Aaron realized that humans' greatest strength was not technology, it was adaptability. Machines could calculate, but humans could see patterns, make connections, and change their approach on the fly. By mid-afternoon, they reached a plateau overlooking a vast valley filled with crystalline growths. The energy there was strong, fluctuating rapidly. The princess examined the readings. Most explorers would avoid this area, too dangerous. Aaron shook his head. Dangerous doesn't mean impossible. We just have to approach it differently. If we work with the energy instead of against it, we can map it safely. They began placing sensors and small devices, testing his theory. Slowly, the machines adapted to the fluctuations, creating a stable network that allowed them to navigate the valley. The princess watched with admiration. Your human ingenuity is remarkable. You see opportunity where others see risk. As they explored, they discovered signs of unusual formations, patterns in the crystals that suggested natural communication of some kind. Aaron hypothesized that the planet itself might have a networked consciousness, a subtle intelligence hidden in the energy flows. The princess listened carefully, intrigued by the idea. Perhaps humans can teach us more than we expected, she said softly. You interpret patterns differently, intuitively. Aaron felt a swell of pride. Humans were often underestimated, their methods seen as simple or primitive, but here, his approach mattered more than any advanced machine or calculation. As evening approached, they decided to set up a temporary camp. The energy fluctuations were less intense in this area, and Aaron suggested using natural formations to shelter their equipment, minimizing interference. While the princess monitored the readings, Aaron worked on building small observation devices that would gather data overnight. He marveled at how quickly he could combine human simplicity with alien technology to create effective solutions. Later, they shared a quiet moment, watching the light of the star reflect off the crystalline formations. I did not expect a human to make such a difference, the princess admitted. Most species rely on rules and predictability. You rely on creativity, flexibility, curiosity. Aaron smiled. That's how humans survive. We improvise, we adapt, we keep trying even when everything seems impossible. It works most of the time, and when it doesn't, we try something else. The princess nodded. Perhaps that is why I wanted you here. Not because you are human, but because your perspective is valuable. It reminds us of something we often forget. As the night deepened, they reviewed the data from the day. The planet's energy flows formed complex patterns, almost like a language. Aaron suggested a method to interpret it, using simple correlations and adaptive mapping. Over the next few hours, they refined the approach and slowly patterns emerged. It's as if the planet is alive, the princess said quietly, awe in her voice. And you see how it communicates, Aaron grinned. Sometimes humans are better at seeing life in unexpected places. We notice connections others overlook. The next morning, they prepared for the final phase of their exploration, reaching the central energy source of the planet. This was the most dangerous part, where fluctuations were strongest. Most species would have relied on protective machinery, yet Aaron suggested using observation, intuition, and adaptive solutions to navigate safely. As they approached the central formation, Aaron noticed subtle cues in the energy patterns, tiny shifts that indicated safer pathways. He guided the princess carefully, and they moved through the energy flows like dancers, avoiding danger without rigid machines. Finally, they reached the heart of the formation. A massive crystalline structure pulsed with energy radiating patterns that shifted constantly. Aaron's devices captured the data, translating the fluctuations into readable patterns. The princess examined the results. "This is remarkable," she whispered. "No one could have done this but you. Your human perspective allowed us to reach what others could not." Aaron felt a surge of pride. Humans were small, young, and often underestimated, but here, he realized they had something extraordinary, the ability to see possibilities where others saw only limits. The princess turned to him, her eyes shining with admiration. "You have proven that humans are not just survivors. You are innovators, explorers, and partners. Your creativity and courage can change the galaxy." Aaron smiled, feeling the truth of her words deep in his heart. "I only did what humans always do. We try, we adapt, we keep moving forward." As they returned to the ship, the princess spoke of plans to share humans' methods with her empire, to encourage collaboration between species, and to show that ingenuity and creativity mattered as much as knowledge and technology. Aaron realized that this mission was just the beginning, not only for him, but for humanity as a whole. By the time they returned to Vir Lanine, news of their success had spread quietly through the council. Humans were being seen in a new light, not as minor participants, but as beings capable of making significant contributions. Aaron's heart swelled with pride and hope. He had always known humans were clever, resourceful, and determined, but now he saw the galaxy recognizing it too. The princess invited him to a final meeting. She looked at him, her expression warm and thoughtful. "You have shown us that humans can do more than survive. You can inspire, connect, and create. I hope you will continue to share this gift with the galaxy." Aaron nodded. "I will. Humans always try their best and we never stop learning. I hope others see that too." As he left the chamber, he looked up at the stars stretching across the city, shimmering with possibility. Humans were small, yes, but they had something extraordinary, the ability to imagine, adapt, and create. And with that, they could reach heights no one had yet dreamed of. Aaron smiled to himself. The journey was only beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges, mysteries, and opportunities, but now he knew humans were ready. They had ingenuity, creativity, and courage. They could survive, thrive, and inspire. And somewhere deep inside, he felt certain that the future would remember the human spirit, not for violence or power, but for the brilliance of their mind, the strength of their curiosity, and the unwavering hope that no challenge was too great to overcome. And with that thought, Aaron stepped forward into the new day, ready to show the galaxy what humans could truly achieve.